Might look a little better or worse. I don't know. So we got to get that all set up. As soon as John gives me the thumbs up, we're ready to get started. The way this works is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. Whatever platform you're on, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is, you can ask questions. Any health question you have, type it in. John, my producer, will then read me the question at the 24-minute break. I will then answer your questions if I have an answer. I usually do. Then we'll do another 24 minutes, and then we'll do questions again. An amazing opportunity to get your health questions answered. Most people have health questions, and they can't even get in to see their doctors. And if they do, doctors don't know the answers anyway. We're going to answer those questions for you today, which is kind of cool. So John's still working on everything. Yep, we're ready to go. Okay, so we are ready to launch, so here we go. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Glad you're with me today. Last week, we talked about surviving the holidays. And I only got to cover a fraction of what I wanted to cover. So I'm going to do part 2 of surviving the holidays. Last week, we talked about nutrition and surviving the holidays. Today, we're going to talk about mental health, surviving the holidays. And we're also going to cover the immune system. Because so many people get sick during the holidays. And I don't like being sick. I don't know about you. But it can really put a damper on everything, including your plans. It can be expensive, emotionally as well as financially. So let's just make this holiday the best ever. And I'm going to teach you forever how to survive the holidays, which is kind of cool. I do want to cover one thing I covered last week, which was really important. We always want to stabilize our blood sugar. Our blood sugar, when you eat, what happens is I eat, a cookie. My brain sends a message to my pancreas and says, hey, we got sugar in the blood. We got to get that sugar out of the blood. Because too much sugar in the blood acidifies the blood, and the blood has to stay at what we call a certain pH or acid level. So the body creates a lot of different things. It releases things like calcium into the blood. It releases insulin, and insulin goes out into the cells and acts like a key. It goes into the cell and opens up the cell and lets sugar in. Now the sugar goes from the blood into the cells, but sometimes we take out too much of the sugar, so we have this big spike in insulin, and then we crash. If we produce too much insulin over and over and over again, the cells eventually say, I can't take any more sugar. Stop it. And your cells become insulin resistant. Another term for insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. 50% of you, and me, us, are pre-diabetic or diabetic. 1 in 2 are diabetic or pre-diabetic. That's crazy. And almost always, it's manageable through diet. So why not do that? Excuse me. So you can manage it because every disease known to man, almost, has some insulin-resistant component. So now what are we doing? We're getting to the cause of the problems, not just treating the symptoms. We can diagnose the heck out of you. We can do blood work. We do MRIs, CAT scans. We can do all sorts of tests to diagnose you. But what do we do about it? This world is called functional medicine. Get a diagnosis, find out what's causing the problem, and then treat the cause. And it's definitely the trend in healthcare. There's no question about it. I've been doing it for 40 years now, and I kept thinking, when's this going to catch on? It's so much more effective, so much less expensive in most cases, safer. When's this going to catch on? Well, finally, functional medicine is becoming a big thing now. And it's cool that I was kind of teaching this stuff 40 years ago. So a couple of things you want to do is, especially during the holidays, and I often wondered about this with the holidays, is why we use cinnamon around Christmas time. Because cinnamon, especially Ceylon or Ceylon, stabilizes blood sugar. You don't have the spike and the crash. So use that cinnamon. Use it up. Really helps stabilize the blood sugar. Another thing you do to stabilize blood sugar is vinegar. Any type of vinegar, acetic acid. I prefer organic apple cider vinegar because that has other benefits as well. But you want to stabilize the blood sugar, so vinegar helps. Cinnamon helps. And I'm going to talk about it later on. I'm going to bring it up again. I'll give you a preview. Movement. When you walk after a meal, the cells start taking in sugar to use as fuel because you're contracting your muscles. Now, you don't have to hit the gym and do an hour of cardio. Just go for a walk. I'll tell you a story. And I've told this before. But when I was young, I went to Germany to visit some of my relatives. I was 10 years old. I went with my grandmother and grandfather and my cousin, and we went to visit their relatives from Germany. And after the evening meal, everybody went for a walk. And then they came home and cleaned up, and we went to bed. I didn't have TVs or anything. And I thought this is a really cool thing, just to go for a walk after dinner. They understood how to stabilize blood sugar. They didn't know why they were stabilizing the blood sugar. Okay, they knew if they walked, it helped them feel better. Well, they were actually taking sugar from the food and driving it into the muscles, stabilizing the blood sugar. So many things like that. Even apple cider vinegar, used when you eat like proteins, like beans. I know my grandparents used to make a lot of bean soups. So we were very poor. And so we take apple cider vinegar with the lentils or the split peas. It stimulated stomach acid. The stomach acid unraveled the proteins in the beans into amino acids so we can utilize them more efficiently and reduce something called raffinose, which is the sugar that causes the gas you get from eating beans. My grandparents understood this is how you do it. They didn't know why. Years later, here I am doing research going, oh, higher stomach acid, easier digestion of proteins, breaks down some of that raffinose, lowers the gas, and it makes it more absorbable. So it's kind of cool. Some of those old wives' tales or these old wives' things we did actually have a lot of scientific basis behind them. They just didn't know why it worked. They just knew that it did. So get up after dinner, after any meal, go for a walk, go dance. I don't care what you do. Stay in motion at least 10 or 15 minutes. And you're going to be amazed how much better you feel and how much easier it's going to be on your digestive system and on your immune system and on your muscles and on your health and weight gain. No downside to doing these things. All right, so we talked a lot about nutrition. And by the way, our shows are all on my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage. We have two links. One is called podcasts. One is called the Dr. Joe Show. Because one show is a long 2-hour show with we take callers, and then the other one, the podcast, is kind of this show as well. But you can always go to your podcast service and subscribe to Dr. Joe for the Health of It. Dr. Joe for the Health of It, and we have all our podcast archived there as well. So you have free access to the lectures on my website. You have free access to the radio shows and lectures on the podcast. And if you follow us on social media, we post at least twice a day. We're going to give you health tips at least twice a day. All that's absolutely free. I have doctors tell me all the time, why don't you charge for this? This stuff is cutting edge information. Why are you not charging people for it? I don't want to. I want to give you this information because I really feel that you need this information. At this point in my career, my goal is to help you get as well as you can, as fast as you can. If you have any health questions, you can always email me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Now, let's talk about stress and mental health survival during the holidays. Saying no is okay. And I'll be honest with you, I struggle with this one. Because I get invited to a lot of events. Everybody wants Dr. Joe there. And I usually go. And I like it. But after a while, it can become exhausting. Especially if I had a long day. I don't want to overstress my body to affect my immune system, which we're going to talk about today as well. So sometimes saying no is okay. You don't have to have an explanation. You have to say, listen, I can't go because my dog is sick, whatever. You don't have to make up an excuse. Hey, listen, thank you so much. Can't make it that night. And I always say, keep me informed for the next shindig. Or keep me informed for the next event. Very politely, I'm not saying no to you. I'm saying no to my life. I need to give it a break. So it's okay to say no. And sometimes during the holidays, depending on if you have a big family, if you have a lot of events, you just need some downtime. There was a couple of weeks ago where for 3 weeks in a row, every single night I had at least one event. And finally, somebody asked me out for something else, and I said, I'm going to take a night off. I'm just going to go home. And I felt a little guilty because I got home about 6 o'clock, and I'm like, well, I don't go to bed for a few hours. What am I going to do all day? So it's okay. Clean your house, do some laundry, and it's okay to go to bed early if you have to. And sometimes if I fall asleep too early, I wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I just want to make sure I'm getting my 7 or 8 hours of sleep is my goal. So if I wake up, guess what? I can do some other things on the computer. I can do work. Maybe I can just watch TV. But understand you can't run forever. You can't race a car forever until the engine needs to be tuned up. And most of you are doing that. I always say, why be sick when you could be well? I know it's a silly question, but why be sick when you could be well? And so many people are sick all the time. They don't know what to do. They come see us in our offices, and we sit down and talk to them, and they say, listen, I've had this problem, headache, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, immune system, decades. And then we sit down, we lay out a plan, get their nervous system working, get their digestive system working, work on their diet, talk about supplements. And inevitably, they say, how come no one's ever told me this before? I've been to 2, 5, 10, 20, 50 other doctors. Nobody's ever said this to me before. And my answer is always, I don't know. I don't know why other doctors aren't teaching this stuff, but this is what we do. So sometimes you just need some silence. And it's okay to sit quietly for 5, 10, 15 minutes in the morning and just be quiet. Rest a little bit. Take some breaths and let the body calm down. Because there's 2 types of nerves in the body. Sympathetic nerves speed us up. parasympathetic nerves slow us down. The parasympathetic nervous system is the nervous system that we heal. We rest, sleep, romance, meditation. That's the parasympathetic nervous system. Going to the bathroom. Sympathetic nervous system is this. I'm in a sympathetic mode right now. I'm thinking, I'm speaking, you're listening, so the brain is working really hard and really fast. So you want to be able to shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic mode, and many times we can't. We get stuck in the sympathetic mode. We're always stressed out all the time. I get it. If you're a parent, you can really understand this. Sometimes you just need some quiet time. It's okay to give the kids to grandma and just sit and rest for yourself. Because if you're not healthy, you can't take care of other people. So if you have neck pain, back pain, digestive issues, immune issues, speeding up the aging process, you can't take care of other people. And if your goal is to take care of other people, I want to take care of you. And avoid the overscheduling. Sometimes we pack things in too much. If you do, accept the fact that maybe I can only go to this party for an hour. And I got to go to this other one for another hour. It's okay to do that. I have 2 events coming up in the next couple of weeks where I'm double and triple booked. But I've made my commitment. I'm going to go to this one, maximum time, 40 minutes. It's going to take me 10 minutes to go to the other party. I'm going to stay for another hour, next party. So it's okay to do these things as long as you have an awareness of what you're doing to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's really important. Another thing I like to do is get outside, even in cold. I remember, I come from a big family, and they're all gone now. But I just remember, even as a little kid, I would just go for a walk. Sometimes I just had to walk away. And it'd be freezing out. I grew up in the north, and I'd still just go for a walk. And one of my best memories ever, people say, what's one of your memories of Christmas? Walking back from a party. I was probably maybe a freshman in high school, and it was snowing, and the roads were closed. And just walking and looking at the snow under the lights. And it was just wonderful because I had a little time to myself, away from the family, and just walking in the snow. So take those times for yourself. It's really important you do that. You want to shift from the sympathetic party mode into the parasympathetic mode because that's where the immune system works best. That's where the body's going to heal. And, look for your triggers. I remember I had a cousin who I just didn't like. And it's okay not to like your family, by the way. And I just didn't like my cousin. And whenever I saw him, it bothered me. And as a kid, I couldn't control much. We're going to your cousin's house, But then as an adult, I said, I don't need to be in that environment anymore. If there's somebody that triggers you or a certain event that triggers you, that could be an issue. My mother passed away a couple of days before Christmas. Christmas is a trigger for me. I'm not going to lie to you. And so I have to realize I got to modulate my immune system, modulate my nervous system, and say this is going to be a tough time. And so don't overbook yourself. Don't put yourself in weird positions. That is going to be a trigger for you. So think about those triggers. I know we always talk about nutrition and nervous systems and everything, but now we're talking about more mental health today. If just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today how to mentally survive the holidays. And this is as important, as nutrition, as the nervous system. There is no one thing that's going to heal you. People say, tell me one thing I can do that's going to cure my AFib, that's going to cure my headaches, that's going to cure my burning in my feet, my neuropathy. Sometimes it's multiple things you have to do. And a lot of people listen and say, okay, I understand, Dr. Joe. I got to get the nervous system working, digestive system working. Got to get the diet straightened out. And other people say, well, no, I just want a quick, easy fix. I wish everything was a quick, easy fix, but unfortunately it's not. Especially around the holidays, there's so much else going on. Different foods, different smells, traveling. If you're in an airplane, you're in this germ-infested tube for hours at a time. So we need to be able to modulate and regulate our immune system. And so you may have to do several things. You may have to get the nervous system working. You may have to fix the digestive system. You may have to eat smaller meals. I take digestive enzymes whenever I eat a cooked meal. I have them in my car, have them in my office, have them in my home. Whenever I eat a cooked meal, I take a digestive enzyme. And let me tell you, for some reason, I don't take it. Bloating, I feel fat, I don't have energy, I have fatigue. And when I was younger, and when you were younger, you produced a lot of digestive enzymes, and they broke down food and help you absorb nutrients. And as you get older, your production of digestive enzymes plummets. So I facilitate my digestive system better by taking a digestive enzyme supplement. It's real quick, it's real easy, real inexpensive. It's on our website, drjoe.com. In fact, all our supplements are on our website, drjoe.com, in the store section. Just go to store section. We have probably about 30 different supplements. So look through the supplements and see which ones you think are going to be best fit for you. If you have questions, we all do, send me your questions through the website, drjoe.com. Right at the top, it says ask a question. Click on it, send a question. It'll come to me personally. I will personally answer your health questions. You can't get that anywhere else. As far as I know in the world, you can't get that anywhere else. I want to help give you the answers that maybe, no guarantees, are going to help you get well and stay well. So the website's amazing, drjoe.com. You can get the supplements. You can book appointments. Come see us. If you want to make an appointment, actually, that's the best thing you can do. If you have health issues, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, nutritional concerns, brain issues, just go to drjoe.com. It says book an appointment. Book an appointment to come see us. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. I want to be your doctor. Let's get to the cause of your problem and not just treat the symptoms. Normally, the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. Excuse me. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on a follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Now, understand you're not going to get fixed in one visit. I'm telling you right out. If you think one visit is going to solve your problems, don't come in. Don't waste your time. Leave that appointment open for somebody who needs it. We're going to put together a protocol. I mean, usually it's pretty quick. It's not forever. But don't think it's a one and done. I just want to, give you realistic expectations. So $299 for that first visit. We can bill your insurance. If the insurance pays us, we'll pay you back. It's real simple. drjoe.com. Book your appointment. Stop suffering needlessly. And we accept almost all insurances. And if you're ever in a car accident, or anyone you know, if the car is damaged, you're damaged. I've never seen it any other way. 40 years of doing this, I've never seen it any other way. So if there's a car accident, come see us or call us, and we'll try to direct you to a doctor or a lawyer, if you need one, that we can trust. A majority of people in workers' comp world are scammers. In personal injury. Not workers' comp, personal injury. But in personal injury, most of them are scammers. The doctors, the lawyers, I'm calling it out right here. If you ever get a call and say, hey, go see this doctor or lawyer, somebody at a hospital says, go see this doctor or lawyer, it's a scam. Don't do it. I can help direct you to people that I know that I can trust. drjoe.com. Anyway, let's get back to where we were. So we're talking today about mental health and surviving the holidays. Limit your toxic conversations. And I'll tell you a perfect example of this. I went to a Thanksgiving dinner, and it was it was in a church. It was for people that didn't have family. They call it the orphan dinner. And there was maybe 100, 120 people there. So I sat at a table with some of my friends. They know who I am. And so I don't eat animal products. You can if you want to. It's up to you, but I choose not to. And so went to the buffet, and I just picked out the vegetables. And there was some guy there, didn't know who I was. And he said, that's all you're eating? I said, yeah, that's all I'm going to eat. Why? He says, aren't you going to have any turkey? Aren't you going to have any stuffing? I said, I'm going to choose not to. I don't eat meat. That was the wrong thing. So suddenly this guy was an expert. He knew way more about biochemistry and neurophysiology than I did. And he says, well, the animals that run the fastest are the meat eaters. I don't know what that had to do with turkey, but I said, okay. And then he said, well, you need protein. Where do you get your protein? Where do you get your calcium? Now, I could have crushed this man like a flea. I'm at a Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know who this guy is. This guy, maybe had a few drinks in him. I don't know. So I said, I've heard that before. That's a very interesting point. And he kept pushing me. And I said, I've heard that before. That's a very interesting point. I really appreciate you saying that. So I avoided the toxic conversation. And then later on, somebody told him who I was, and he was like, oh, crap. So, but I don't have to have those toxic conversations. Politics, sex, religion, food. Fleetwood Mac had a song that said, go your own way. Just go your own way. That's a really interesting point. Thank you for bringing that up. And just keep moving on. Eventually, they're going to give up on you. I promise you. So limit those toxic conversations because it's not the time. Holidays are a time for family. It's time for being grateful. It's time for gratitude. And you have to live in your world. Let them live in their world. It's perfectly fine. And like I did, because I teach this stuff, I took a few deep breaths before I spoke. I said, okay, what's going to be the best way to walk away from this? There was a couple of, back in the old days, there were a couple of shows. Billy Jack was one of them, if you remember that movie, Walking Tall. And the whole point was they had these guys who were really just bad guys, good guys. They were, so trained in martial arts, and they always did everything they could to avoid conflict. And they kept taking a deep breath and they walked away, and sometimes somebody would slap them and they'd walk away again. Even Jesus said, turn the other cheek. And you have to take on that persona, especially during the holidays. Let the people, metaphorically beat you up, and that's okay. Move on. Let them deal with their stuff. So take a deep breath before reacting, because when you pause and you take a deep breath, you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. And the parasympathetic nervous system slows you down. When you get mad, what do? You hold your breath. So breathing is so important to kick in the parasympathetics to let the body heal. So this is going to help with the immune system. It's going to help with digestion. It's going to help you mentally survive the crazy holidays. Now, some of you are going to have fine holidays. That's okay. But these are all lessons to use in life. Walk away. It's a lot easier. When I was young, I was a tough guy, and I always wanted to start fights, and, I was going to be right. There's no benefit in being right in this case. Just calm down. Lower your expectations. Sometimes with Christmas, we watch a couple of Hallmark movies, and everybody assumes it's going to be wonderful, and you're going to meet the love of your life, and then you're going to have disagreement, you're going to kiss at the end, and it's going to be wonderful. Every Hallmark movie, I just told you the whole plot. So it's okay to lower your expectations. I don't maybe have to have a date this year. I don't have to, I'd love for you to be with your family. Please do that if you can. But it's not always going to be, Santa Claus and elves and happiness all the time. So take a breath. Whatever happens is fine. This is a unique part of the year. Just let this I always think pictures taken out of the year, let it happen, and go back again January. So we're talking today, if you're just tuning in, about mental health and surviving the holidays. And we talked earlier about going for a walk. I want to bring that up again, because when you go for a walk, you kick in your parasympathetic nervous system, you get some fresh air, you're away from the viruses, germs, bacteria, dry air, which is always a big issue in the winter, and you're moving. And when the muscles are contracting, you're taking sugar out of your blood and driving it into the muscles, lowering your sugar. As you lower your sugar, you lower your insulin production. Because once again, in case you're just tuning in, when you eat food, your body produces insulin. Insulin opens up the cells like a key and drives sugar into the cells. I did a whole show, and if you need it, just send me an email through the website, drjoe.com, on diabetes. And one of the things we find with insulin resistance is insulin's like a key. It goes into a hole in the cell, like a key, a lock hole in the cell, opens it up and lets the sugar in. If you're doing a lot of vegetable oils, corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, which is what lard, hard oils that you make cookies with. I won't say the brand name. These oils can actually clog up the keyhole. And that means insulin can't get in to open up the cell to let the sugar in. So now the body says, we had a lot of sugar in the blood, we better produce more insulin. And you keep producing insulin. The insulin isn't able to open up the cell and let the sugar in, and so your insulin levels skyrocket. And your sugar levels skyrocket. So one of the easiest things you can do to get the cells to be more receptive to this insulin is avoid vegetable oils. Corn, canola, soy, cotton. Who decided cottonseed? I don't know who decided to eat cottonseed. There's only 3 oils that I want you to have in your life. Extra virgin organic coconut, extra virgin organic olive, and extra virgin organic avocado. That's it. Now, you could use walnut oil or something like that. Those are kind of the exceptions. But here's how you know if you have a good olive oil. Take the oil, put it in the refrigerator. If it gets cloudy, if it gets a little hard, it's a good olive oil. And I'll tell you, I went to one of the big box stores and I bought this. Somebody gave it to me actually a couple of years ago. A bottle of extra virgin organic olive oil from multiple countries. Put it in a refrigerator, didn't get firm. I bought extra virgin organic olive oil, same store, from Italy, one country. It got thick and cloudy and it was fine. So don't be fooled by bad oils. So please, during these holiday seasons, you're going to be exposed to a lot of bad oils. I want you to avoid them if you can. I'm looking at the clock. I got to go to a break. If you have any health questions whatsoever, I want you to send them to me through my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. If you have any, if you want to make an appointment to come see us, drjoe.com. The supplements, at least take Super Greens Essential Source, B Complex, and Vitamin D, especially through the holiday. All 4 are on our website, drjoe.com. And follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. It's Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. I want to be your doctor. I want to get you well and keep you well. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay. Part 1. John now has questions, I assume. He always does. If not, he makes them up.
What ingredient should I add to a tossed salad? What ingredient should I avoid?
Gosh, how much time you got? Toss salads, all your vegetables. Throw some fruit in there if you want to as well. Extra virgin organic olive oil, extra virgin apple cider vinegar, organic apple cider vinegar. That would be the best. Now you could add some garlic to that, some salt, some pepper. Those are all fine as well. You want to avoid cheese. You want to avoid oils, especially in the salad dressings like corn oil, canola oil, like we just talked about, those vegetable oils. If you want to make the salad make more filling, you could add some chickpeas to it. You could add some nuts to it, almonds, walnuts, pecans, pistachios, not peanuts. Peanuts are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which increase inflammation. So you can make plain old salad if you want to. You can add some chickpeas, some black beans if you want to, some white beans, cannellini beans, nuts and seeds. That's a whole meal right there. That's all you need. If you're going to use salt, air-dried sea salt is going to be your best. Baja Gold is great. Celtic salt is great. Himalayan, if it's not from China, it's fine. If it's from China, sometimes it has heavy metal toxicity. And there's your salad. My mother was the queen of salads, man. Every time there was a party, everybody said, Aunt Rosie, make salads. So my grandmother, my mother made the best salad. So, yeah, that's real simple and easy. What else you got?
Besides walnuts and almonds, which nuts should I focus on?
Anything but peanuts. Sunflower seeds are great. They have zinc in them. Zinc is great for the immune system. It's great for libido. Men especially, it's important to help with the prostate issues. So you could do pumpkin seeds. Chia seeds are fine. Anything but peanuts really are going to be fine. So you'll be good there. What else, John?
I've heard that coconut oil is healthy, but is it also high in saturated fat?
Yes, it is high in saturated fat, but it's a different type of saturated fat. It's not the same saturated fat you find in meat. So it is a saturated fat, but it's okay for you. So I don't have a problem with it. Just make sure it's extra virgin organic. What else?
Is hot chocolate or eggnog okay during the holidays?
If you're going to do hot chocolate, I want you to do organic dark chocolate hot chocolate, and I want you to use stevia as the sweetener. So chocolate has a lot of benefits. It has polyphenols. It has antioxidants. So chocolate can be good for you as long as it's not with sugar and fats like butterfat. So organic dark chocolate cocoa powder, stevia as a sweetener, and you're fine. Eggnog, no. That's it. There's no way around that. No. I like it.
That is all.
Okay, great. All right. Let's go to part 2 here. All right. All right. Make sure I got everything in line here. Yeah. All right. We're good. Ready? Oh, nope. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you just joined us, welcome. If you stayed with me, thank you. I appreciate that. I know everybody's really busy. So, again, I really do mean that when I say that. I appreciate you guys taking us all around the world and making these shows and podcasts and lectures so popular. We get messages from people all over the world every day. We get orders for supplements from all over the world every single day. And I appreciate you guys doing this because this is healthcare that really, really works. And I want to help you get to the point where you have control over your own health, where you're not a victim of the system. Can't tell you, I was at a party the other day, and there was a nurse there, and she's a fan of the show. And we started talking, and she said, Dr. Joe, I wish I could say what you say. I said, why can't you? She goes, well, I work in a hospital. We have to follow all these rules. And she says, I understand the rules are necessary, but sometimes a patient needs to think outside the box. She goes, it drives me nuts, the food they serve these people in the hospital. They're serving them Jell-O with artificial sweetener in it. They're serving diet sodas. They're serving regular sodas. They're serving cookies and a little tiny salad made with, iceberg lettuce. She goes, I just wish I could say what you say. She goes, I lived a life. She goes, but I hope I never have to end up in the hospital where I work. And I thought, wow, that's a profound statement. I hope my staff are happy working with me and they want to be treated by me, and my staff. So the tide is changing. I'm very happy to see the shift. And you are now part of it just by listening to the show. And if you subscribe to our podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It, you'll get 2 podcasts a week. If you follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, you can get 2 health tips every day. Absolutely free. I do this because I really want you to have this information. We talk about supplements all the time. I don't believe supplements are a luxury. I believe they're a necessity if you want to achieve optimum health. I eat a really good diet, mostly organic, plant-based, a lot of raw food, tons of fiber. I eat a really good diet, and I still take about 15 supplements a day. And I was at a party. I go to a lot of parties. And I was talking to some guy, and he pinned me down. He started talking about his prostate and his ED and all these other problems. And he said, what should I do? So I recommended Super Greens, Essential Source, vitamin D, B complex, nitric oxide, men's hormone support. And he said, well, that's too many. And I said, it's too many what? He goes, there's too many supplements. I said, based on what? You're eating a hamburger with cheese on it, on white bread and a French fry, drinking a beer while you're talking to me, and you're saying I have too many supplements? I don't want to take that many supplements. Okay. He said, so what should I do? I said, whatever you want to do. I told you what you need to do. Whether you do it or not is up to you. Well, I think it's too many. So we went round and round, and I finally, again, we talked about earlier, downregulated my expectations. I said, well, that's an interesting point, and I appreciate what you're saying. So I'll give you the information. What you do with that is up to you. But if you knew what I knew, you would do what I do. I don't have an option to do what I do knowing what I know. I can't negotiate in my mind that I don't need to have chiropractic care to keep my nervous system healthy. I can't understand that. That makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm going to beat up my spine every single day, sitting, lifting, bending, squatting, sleeping, turning my head, housework, yard work, coughing, sneezing. All these things can traumatize my spine, move the bones out of place, and pinch nerves. Why wouldn't I want to realign them? Had a lady come in last week, and she was just a mess. She had hardening of the arteries. She had a thyroid partially removed, and she was my age. And she looked much older, and gallbladder removed. And so we sat and we talked. And she said, well, my doctor says I had hip replacement. I said, do you have a doctor ever tell you why you had a hip replacement? He said the hip was wearing out. Ever tell you why the hip wore out? No. Hips wear out because the bones are out of place. Now, it could be a torn ligament. It could be damaged that way. But if something's out of alignment, the joints will rub up against each other, whether it's your hip, your knee, your foot, your spine, even your skull, and the joint will wear out. That's called osteoarthritis. She said, now my knee is starting to hurt. Doctor said he's going to give me some cortisone shots until the knee is bad enough, and then they could do a knee replacement. Let's think about the logic behind that statement. My car is making noise, smoke's coming out of the engine, and the tires are wobbling when I drive. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some gas in it or something to make it run a little longer until the engine falls out, and then we're going to talk about putting a new engine in. Makes no sense. What do? You go get what's not working fixed, because you don't want to get in an accident or die and you need your car. But for some reason, when it comes to the body's health, we go in a totally different direction. Let's wait till that knee wears out and then we can replace it. Makes no sense. I said the reason the knee is wearing out is it's out of alignment. I took an x-ray. Sure enough, it was out of alignment. And I said the ligaments have been damaged. Let's do something called acoustic wave therapy. It's a machine we have in the office, sends really fast impulses into the joint, breaks up scar tissue, increases circulation, and reduces and recruits stem cells. And stem cells can help generate new tissue. I said, listen, at your age, it's not going to be like you were 16. But what if we can get it better? She said, that's what I want. I don't want to have another surgery because I didn't do well with my first surgery. Then I gave her a drug, which made her go deaf. Another problem she had. And I said, let's do acoustic wave. Let's do cold laser to stimulate the mitochondria in the cell. Let's realign the knee, and let's see if it helps. And if it doesn't help, so what? Go have surgery. Let's do the most effective, least expensive treatment for everything. Whether it's my car, my house, my air conditioner, my body, and let's try to do the least amount of damage with the most amount of benefits. So I said, why don't you make an appointment? Well, we did set up an appointment, actually, do some acoustic wave therapy. She says, great. I said, it'll take about 10 minutes each session. She said, great. Let's do it. Way less expensive than surgery. No downtime. And in most cases, we see great results, myself included. And so I don't know why people just don't do that. So if you want to make an appointment to come see us, you should. Let's get the nervous system working. Let's get the digestive system working. Let's get the diet straightened out. Let's talk about supplements specific to your needs. And let's try to get you as well as possible, as quickly as possible for the least amount of money. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. So we're talking today about surviving the holidays. So a couple of things you can do. Try to laugh. When you laugh, you release a lot of endorphins. You actually build up muscle mass as well. And even if you have to fake the laugh. So here's a little something I do. I try to laugh whenever I can. So even if something's moderately funny, especially if I'm by myself, it's not so weird. I really try to fake the laughter. Really laugh hard because it lowers your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a hormone that's released when you're stressed out. Lowers that cortisol level. Tell jokes. Have fun. Be silly. Play with kids. That's always a great way to do it. Just play with kids because you could laugh with kids and they just think it's great. I think kids are great. I just love kids. So enjoy that time and laugh often as you can and as hard as you can. And I want to talk about your digestion during the holidays because I can't ever do a show without talking about digestion. Your stomach has one main job, and that job is to digest protein. Now, you can get protein from a carrot. You can get protein from a piece of lettuce. I mean, if you look at a bunny who's just eating lettuce, they have protein, they have muscle, or you can get it from a steak. Protein looks like a ball of yarn under a microscope. And you have acids in your stomach, pepsin, pepsinogen. They unravel that ball of yarn and chop it up into something called amino acids. 20 amino acids in human diet. The amino acid tryptophan combines with vitamin B6, which is why I recommend people take a methylated B vitamin every day, which is on our website, drjoe.com, and creates a chemical called 5-HTP. 5-HTP becomes serotonin. Serotonin helps you focus. It makes you happy. Serotonin travels from the gut up into the brain via the vagus nerve or the blood vessels and makes the brain work better, happier, and then it converts into melatonin, which helps you sleep. So the holidays are a real tough time, and we want to be happy, we want to be focused, and if you have digestive issues, heartburn, acid reflux, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, you're not digesting your food properly. Sometimes it's as simple as taking a digestive enzyme. In most cases, the stomach is pushed up into the diaphragm. When the stomach pushes up into the diaphragm, you might have burping, gas, bad breath. Another story. I was at a lecture the other day, and this young gal came up to me, nice-looking gal, and she's talking to me, and she had the worst breath. I mean, it just smelled like a potty. And I'm thinking, okay, she's got a digestive problem. And she's in the health field, too. So we're talking, and I said, okay, how do I do this delicately? How do I tell her she stinks? So I said, I do a lot of work with digestive problems. You ever have any patients with digestive issues? She says, oh, all the time. I said, can I show you how we adjust the stomach? How we do it? She goes, oh, I'd love to. So I laid her down, and I actually tested her. Sure enough, her stomach was up against her diaphragm. I pulled her stomach away from her diaphragm. And about an hour or so went by. I went back, and I talked to her again. Breath was fine. So her stomach was pushed up against the diaphragm. She wasn't digesting food properly, and her digestive system wasn't working. And so I've seen her since then multiple times. Breath is fine. So bad breath is a warning sign. It's telling you something's wrong. Now, it could be a rotten tooth. It could be you ate garlic. But if it smells like a potty, chances are the stomach is up against the diaphragm. And if we can fix the gut, you're able to digest your food, break your proteins into amino acids to produce neurotransmitters, which helps the brain work better. And that's the mental aspect of the holidays. Tyrosine, an amino acid, becomes dopamine. Dopamine gives you pleasure. Dopamine converts into norepinephrine, which gives you energy. How many of you are stressed over the holidays? You have emotional stress. You're fatigued. It could be a digestive problem. I get this all the time. We work on a patient. We do dysfunctional medicine work. We get them on supplements. We fix their gut. We talk about environmental issues. We talk about dealing with mental stress. And they always say the same thing. Why didn't anybody else ever tell me this? Why didn't I do this sooner? I suffered for 10, 20, 30 years. Marriage ended. I didn't talk to my family because they weren't able to modulate and regulate their nervous system. And once we fixed them, they say, my gosh, I got a divorce over this. I've had that happen numerous occasions because I was just anxious all the time. Could have been, not saying it's the only reason, could have been that the digestive system and the nervous system weren't working properly, affecting brain function. That's deep stuff, man. And that's why I love working with patients. I love being the Sherlock Holmes of healthcare, doing investigation to find out where the problems are coming from. So if you have digestive issues, please come see us as soon as you can. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, digestive issues, you're concerned about brain health, you're concerned about emotional health, come see us. Let's put together a protocol to try to get your body as well as we can, as fast as we can, and as simple as we can. And I want you to be one of those patients that says, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer for so long? So go to drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right there. Normally the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Any one of those is going to cost you more than that. drjoe.com. And we'll bill your insurance. If they pay us, we'll pay you back. How easy is that? And we accept most insurances for treatment from there. Now, also, I'm going to say this, too. If you're listening to this during the end of the year, you may have a new deductible at the beginning of the year. You may have HSA and FSA funds that you're not using. Use them. chances are you're going to lose it by the beginning of the year. And in most cases, depends on your policy. It pays for treatment with us. The HSA and FSA oftentimes pays for supplements. Just do it. Stop suffering. Make that step. Make the commitment to try to get well. Because you're suffering. Many of you are suffering needlessly. Why be sick when you can be healthy? Makes no sense. So drjoe.com, love to be your doctor. The minimum supplements I would say is Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, they're 2 powders, Dr. Joe's Vitamin D3 with K2. Because one of the things vitamin D does is absorbs calcium from the food and brings it into the blood system. K2 takes from the blood system, brings it into the bones. So D3 with K2, and then methylated B complex. Methylated, it's got to be methylated, folks. Many of you can't absorb it if it's not methylated. That's the minimum 4. Now, for the holidays, we put Wellness Booster and Seasonal Tonic on sale 40% off. I can't make this easier for you, folks. Wellness Booster, I take it every day. It's a liquid. It helps build my immune system and keep me strong. Seasonal Tonic is if I do start feeling a scratchy throat or runny nose, I take 2 or 3 dropperfuls every hour. It says once a day. I take it every hour because that helps fight the viruses, germs, and bacteria. All of that's on the website, drjoe.com. So you got to get that vitamin D, especially during the holidays now, because the sun is hitting the earth on an angle, if you're in the northern hemisphere, I'm assuming, and you're not going to get enough UVB rays to interact with cholesterol to create vitamin D. And vitamin D is so important for the immune system. Less sunlight, lower immune system, supplementation. I don't know, if I was Grand Poobah of the universe, I'd make it mandatory. So I take 10 drops a day of the Dr. Joe's Vitamin D3 with K2. It's a liquid. So I take my Super Greens and Essential Source, drop 10 drops of vitamin D in there with K2. Then I add creatine. Creatine helps muscle mass. Now, as you get older, all of us have this condition called sarcopenia. Big word. Sarcopenia means my muscles are getting weaker. I'm wasting my muscles. I lose about 1% per year. So do you. So creatine helps maintain that muscle mass. And it helps the brain function. And it's really cheap. And you only need a little scoop. So I take a scoop. I actually take 2 scoops of creatine. And then I add a scoop of magnesium. It's all on the website, drjoe.com. So Super Green Essential Source, vitamin D, magnesium, and creatine. I take that. Then I take my B complex. I take men's hormone support. I take omega-3 fatty acids, absolutely necessary for brain function. I do not recommend fish oil because fish oil, every sample I've ever seen tested was toxic. Now, sometimes they can take out some of the waste products like the metals and the polyvinyl chlorides, these other chemicals, but I take an algae oil. It's on the website, drjoe.com. Absolutely necessary. I take a probiotic because 70 to 80% of my immune system is in my gut, so is yours. And so I take Dr. Joe's probiotic every day. So I have a protocol that I take every day that keeps me young, helps keep my testosterone strong. I take estrogen regulator to prevent my testosterone from converting into estrogen. It's diindolylmethane. I take that every day. The men's hormone support, and we have a women's hormone support too, which is just phenomenal to keep the hormones high, to keep the libido high, keep the brain functioning. So even with all this that I take every day, is still cheaper than going out for a fancy cup of coffee every day. It's cheaper than a fancy cup of coffee. And if you're taking nitric oxide support, you're going to get the energy. You don't need the coffee anymore. Had a patient come in the other day. She was with her husband. And he was worried because he has high blood pressure. And he says, I was afraid to take Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support because I thought my blood pressure might go too low. Okay, I appreciate that. I said, here's what I want you to do. Take 1 nitric oxide capsule, see how you feel. Take 2 the next day, 3 the next day, 4 the next day. And she's sitting right next to him, husband, wife. She said, well, that's what you told us the first time we came in. She goes, and I did that. And she goes, I am feeling like I'm 20 years younger. She goes, where's that coming from? I said, you're taking B complex, you're taking the nitric oxide, you're taking Super Greens and Essential Source, you're taking the D. I said, your body has been so depleted of nutrients all these years. She goes, I don't know what this stuff is, but I never want to go a day without it. So we did an experiment with him. We took his blood pressure, and it was high. We gave him 2 nitric oxide supplements, waited 20 minutes, took his blood pressure again. It dropped by about 15 points. I said, there's your proof. What more do you want? Now, if you have low blood pressure, don't take our nitric oxide supplements. And monitor your blood pressure, because as the blood pressure starts to drop, it may go too low if you're taking medicine with the supplements. And that's what he heard me say in a show I did once. If it goes too low, talk to your doctor. Maybe you can cut back on your meds. Better for you and cheaper. Not a bad gig, right? So drjoe.com, great source of information. And anytime you have questions, send them to me through the website. I'm happy to answer your questions. I will answer your questions personally. why wouldn't you do that? drjoe.com. And that's why you want to follow us on social media, because we post every day, twice a day. You're going to get little health tips twice a day, free. A podcast, Dr. Joe for the Health of It, 2 podcasts a week, free. And if you like to see my pretty face, you can go to YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we do videos of our lectures all the time there. So I want to be your doctor. I don't know if I said that before. I really want to be your doctor. Other things you can do to keep your immune system strong. Again, the vitamin D Wellness Booster Seasonal Tonic B Complex Super Greens Essential Source, garlic, ginger, oregano, and turmeric, they are nature's pharmacy. Now, they're not going to replace a lot of drugs, but they may get you well enough so you don't need the drugs. Now, if you eat garlic, you're going to get bad breath, right? You go to holiday parties, you don't want to kiss somebody with stinky breath, so eat some parsley with it. Parsley has chlorophyll, which bonds to the chemicals that cause the stinky breath. Just a fun little tip there for you. You really want to stay away from sugar and dairy products. They increase mucus, they weaken your immune system, and mucus is related to just about pretty much every disease known to man. So dairy is the number 1 food allergen. Wheat is the number 2 food allergen. And sugar, you just got to avoid it. And it's really hard during the holidays. You know what? I know. I understand. You got to ask yourself a question. Every time I eat a meal, I ask myself this question. Is it worth it? Is this the best choice I can make at this moment in time? And if it is, eat it. If it's not, make a better choice. Have a bean burrito instead of a beef burrito. I went out for Mexican food the other day. I was up in Helen, Georgia, North Georgia, if you've ever been there. Cute little, well, it's a cheesy little tourist town. And the person I was with was hungry. So we said, all right, let's get some Mexican food. So I checked to make sure the beans didn't have lard in them. They didn't. So they bring out chips and salsa to the table. How many people like chips and salsa? Raise your hands. A lot of you do. I do. But I knew that was not the best choice. I like the salsa. I like the chips. So what can I do? So I got beans, and I got guacamole, and I got lettuce. And I put the salsa on this. I kind of made like a 3-bean dip, basically. And I just ate it that way without the chips. Now, was it as fun as it would have been with the chips? No, it wasn't. But you know what? At the end of the meal, I was full. Didn't matter. I had nourished myself. I given myself the best choice I could make at that moment in time. And I was fine. So think about these little steps you can take to keep the immune system strong. We talked about getting outside. It's so important to get outside to get the immune system working, but you're also going to get some sunlight too. Morning sunlight's even the best. If you have any way to just sit in the morning sun for about 10 minutes, that's just phenomenal. Wash your hands frequently. It's old school. We transmit cooties through our hands. So wash your hands as often as you can, and I avoid shaking hands. I'll fist bump. I'll give an elbow, elbow to elbow, and people kind of laugh sometimes. But if you do wash your hands, if you do shake hands, please wash your hands, because inevitably you're going to touch your nose, you're going to rub your eye, you're going to touch your mouth. So just wash your hands as often as you possibly can. And walking helps support what's called the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system, it's the drainage system in your body. It flushes out the waste products. And so when you walk, you contract your muscles, and that's how we flush out our lymphatic system. The heart pumps blood. The sacrooccipital pumps cerebrospinal fluid. That's why you have to make sure your spine is lined up properly so you can pump fluid up to your brain. If it's misaligned, it can affect the fluid nourishing your brain, the sacrooccipital pump. And then muscle contracture helps with the lymphatics. And that's why moving is so important. Now, I don't like going to the gym. I don't like lifting weights. I have a bad shoulder. I have a traumatic brain injury, so I can't really lift a lot of weights because it causes severe pain for me. So what do? I walk, I swim, housework, yard work, clean the house, wash windows. Anything that's going to keep the body in motion is going to be so good for you. I want you to get a humidifier. When I was a kid, we were very poor. My father was disabled, so we were very poor growing up. And we lived in a house, and some rooms would heat and some wouldn't. Now, my bedroom, for some reason, heated a lot. I had this tiny little bedroom. It's about 8 by 10. And I would wake up every night in the winter, because I was up in north, just dry and coughing. I'd put water next to my bed. Just didn't like it. I was sick a lot, too. So then I'd have to open a window. Now, here in the middle of winter, up north, cold air blowing in, but it's the only way I can get air into my room. As an adult now, I realize all I had to do was get a humidifier and put moisture back in the air. I would have been fine. My life would have been so much better had I gotten, at the time, probably a $5 humidifier. I didn't know to do that. But I'm telling you, you want to keep moisture in the air. Viruses spread easily in dry environments. So if you have a humidifier, it's awesome. And if you want to get really fancy, you can put pure essential oils sometimes in the humidifier, and that can actually give you an extra perk, a bonus perk if you want to. So prioritize your sleep. And one of the big things I find with sleep is a digestive problem. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. And so many times when people have sleep apnea, they snore, the stomach is pushed up against the diaphragm. We talked about that earlier. And if you can pull the stomach away from the diaphragm, not only are you digesting your food better to produce amino acids, to produce neurotransmitters, to help produce melatonin to help you sleep, it's going to help you digest, it's going to help you breathe better so you can sleep better. And another rule when it comes to sleep, don't eat about 3 or 4 hours before you go to bed. Don't have a midnight snack. Don't eat snacks before you go to bed. It's going to be a problem. All right, folks, I got a lot more to cover. I don't have any time. I'm looking at the clock. If you want a copy of today's show notes and you think you should get them, send me an email through my website, drjoe.com, and just say show notes for Surviving the Holidays. I will send you the show notes absolutely free. It's my gift to you. So drjoe.com, show notes, or just say Surviving the Holidays. I'll send you the notes, my gift to you. If you want to make an appointment, come see us, drjoe.com. All the supplements we talked about, Super Green, Central Source, vitamin D, nitric oxide, B-complex, men's hormone support, omega-3 fatty acids, all on the website, drjoe.com. We even have one called Glucose Guard, which helps stabilize your blood sugar. Any questions you have, send it to me through the website. I know the website's a lot on it. Happy to answer your questions for you. And on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, just follow me. Do that as a favor to me. I would appreciate that. I want to be your doctor. I want to help get to the cause of your problems, not just treat the symptoms. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Bam. I didn't cover everything, John. Nah, I don't think so. I looked. I have like 25 shows all put together, ready to go for the future. So I got a lot to cover here. You have questions for me?
Does the nutritional value of eggs change based upon how they are cooked?
Yes. The more you cook it, the lower the nutritional value. And make sure you do organic eggs if you do eggs at all. We have audience today. Elizabeth, any questions? Nothing? Okay, good. Okay. What else, John?
Is gingerbread okay?
Nope. Well, depends how you make it, I guess. If you use allulose or some sugar substitute like stevia, and you use a gluten-free flour and ginger, pure ginger, and not just fake ginger flavors, maybe okay, but not great. So, what else?
Is stevia the best sweetener for coffee?
Yeah, if you're going to do coffee, make sure it's organic. Organic decaf is a better choice still. No coffee is the best choice. Stevia is fine. Make sure it's organic because sometimes you use maltodextrin, and maltodextrin is oftentimes made with genetically modified corn. So if you're going to do stevia, make sure it's organic, but the answer is yes if it's organic. So.
Is hand sanitizer okay?
No. No. A lot of hand sanitizers, I don't know if it's still on the market or not, these use triclosan. And triclosan is a hormone disruptor, and you're giving these kids things that act like estrogen in their bodies. So I had a recipe. I wonder where we had it. During COVID, we used it. It was witch hazel, alcohol, and tea tree oil. And that's how I made my own natural hand sanitizer. That's what we used here in the office during COVID. I'd rather just wash your hands soap and water. It works better, actually, than hand sanitizer. So, what else?
Are there any popular exercises like sit-ups that should be avoided?
It depends on you. Everybody's different. I have a fracture in my low back, so I can't do sit-ups. It hurts me. I can do squats, so that's fine. So you really got to customize an exercise plan based on your x-rays and your health structure. I had a girl come in last week, and she was a runner, and her hips were twisted. So every time she ran, she made her low back problem worse because her hips were out of alignment. So she was building up strong muscles around crooked joints. Once we realigned her, she was able to build up strong muscles around straight joints. So the answer is, I don't know your specific problems or situation, so I don't know what exercises to recommend for you. But if you come in, we can take some x-rays, and I can do that for you. What else?
Some say that Himalayan salt lamps improve air quality and help you sleep. What are your thoughts?
I have no idea. I've read the Himalayan lamp websites, but I've never seen any double-blind studies that are positive or negative. I don't think it's a bad thing. If you like them, use them. I don't think it's bad to use them, so. But I don't know if it's that good. So. What else?
That is all.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you very much. Please, let's survive the holidays together. Follow me on social media. Any questions or hope to see you at drjoe.com.